Did you hear Haley Pham? She is a big content creator, wrote a book, and it's not even released yet, but there is drama. However, I got to read the arc already. It comes out March 2026. So we're going to talk about the drama, things that I have to say about it, and then let's talk about the book without spoiling it. I do not follow her on YouTube. I've seen her husband's YouTube videos, and they are big, they are huge. While I am not a follower of them, I saw the book and went, I want to see what she wrote, and let's get the arc if I can. And I did get the arc. So I am reading it, but I was flabbergasted by how many people were coming at her. And I try to stay off of Booktok these days because of a lot of this kind of energy. So let's talk about it in case you were under a rock just like I was. Let me just catch you up on what I know about it and see if you feel the same way as I do. I want to hear what you think because I think there needs to be some better energy out there, and I think this world can do better. So let's talk about what's going on and let's talk about the book. Welcome back, friends. Before I get really into it and before I get really riled up, because I know I'm going to with some of the things that I've seen in the reactions, what do you think of this mic? Can you tell me if you really like this mic? Should I keep it or should I not? Does it make a difference? Does it matter to you? Would you watch it more or less because I'm using a mic? Let me know. All right, let's dive in. So, I have been trying to stay clear of book talk these days a little bit more because there's this energy that isn't something that I want. I want uplifting, I want supportive, I want friendly. And a lot of it has become not that. And this is a prime example of that. I didn't know how this was going down. And even on Goodreads, I see people's reviews and I'm like, oh my gosh, people, is there not kindness in this world? You can give critiques, you can talk about the book, the characters, the plot, the word choices, the whatever, but don't go after the author. We're going to talk about a few different things, but there have been tons of reviews for this book that does not come out until March. And some people got the book, the ARC, the advanced reader copy, and have a lot of things to say. And I'm just going to say that if you are someone that is just making hateful videos about this person that perhaps you didn't like to begin with, and you're hoping to ruin their authorship or their whatever, go find something else to do. Stop it. Stop it. That's bullying, right? When you come after someone for their character, even though you don't know that person, and you're just bashing them for, look, friends, it is wild. I'm going to be super transparent with you. I did not go watch those bashing videos. I've only heard people talk about the bashing videos because I didn't want to give them more views to those hateful videos. So I got the gist of a lot of things that are being said on Goodreads as well as other videos. And you can AI this stuff too and say what is going on, and it summarizes it wonderfully for you, right? AI is actually really great for a lot of different things, especially research. So one of the things people say is, oh, it's just a YouTuber or a, person that is using their influence to be able to write a book, and they're bypassing all these other people that should be authors because they've been writing their whole life. Okay, first of all, it's a business. Publishing is a business. And if they know that someone has a huge following and that they're going to bring their following along with them into book sales and it translates into that, of course, they're going to take that person over someone that has maybe been writing their whole life, but they do not have a following. And that does not equate to book sales. It is a business. So you know that if you were in the same shoes and you had a following, you would absolutely do it. And some people are just writing for fun with the hopes of making it big someday and making that be their career that feeds them. And it doesn't happen for a lot of people, and that is sad. I acknowledge that. But some people are allowed to want to write in addition to being whatever influencer they are in whatever category. That is the life we are living in now, or what is the generation that we are living in now. And that is the reality we're living in. And There are so many people that benefit from this, and you are singling her out. Come on, go take it out on everyone else too, equally, if you're going to, because there are tons of influencers out there that I'm sure you are not bashing. If you're just jealous that she's a successful content creator that makes a ton of money just by making videos, yeah, I'm jealous too. I wish I could do that for a living. And I wish I could write a book, which I am writing a book, and have that just be purchased right away. But you know what? We all have different privileges. We all have different circumstances. We all have different things that we love doing or dreams that we want to achieve. And can we just lift each other up and say, congratulations for writing a book? That is a good big accomplishment. And if that is something that she has wanted to do, amazing. Another thing that is said out there is that she is a high school dropout. So, how can she write? I think people said that her writing is like middle school grade or her writing is not great, but what can you expect? She's a high school dropout. Okay, I did some research on people that are high school dropouts. Should we talk about some people? Okay, Richard Branson. You know him? Oh, maybe you don't. I don't know. Super bazillionaire, right? Yeah, he is a high school dropout. Katy Perry. Anybody think of her? Oh, people say like, oh, does she not sing well because she dropped out of high school? Nobody says that. Whoopi Goldberg, Mark Wahlberg, Rihanna, Walt Disney, Jim Carrey, Uma Thurman, John Travolta. Huh, those people seem to be doing pretty well, even though they were high school dropouts and they focused on their craft and, did something that they loved doing. Okay. Yeah. Just because they didn't finish high school doesn't mean they don't know how to do something, right? Or they're not allowed to follow their dreams. Okay. And then you have some people that didn't finish college, very famous people, maybe for some people, but or as long as you finish high school is okay. I don't know, but have you heard of Steve Jobs? Have you heard of Bill Gates? They didn't finish college; they dropped out to start businesses, and I think they're doing pretty darn well. Those businesses, so let's not judge people by their education level. Now, if we're talking about my own kids, do I want them to drop out of high school? No. Do I want them to go to college? Absolutely. And, there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, you don't have to go to college. You can do all these other things, pursue these other things. YouTube is a huge thing that a lot of people are now making a lot of money from as young kids. And props to those people. But I still want my kids to go to college. So I'm just throwing that out there. People can disagree with me, but that is the beauty of it. We can all disagree on books, on opinions of things. Just do it with kindness. Just do it with care. Just because you're on the internet doesn't mean that you can say whatever you want behind the veil of anonymity. And people are putting their faces out there too and saying these harsh, really mean things, but maybe because you're not a huge influencer, it doesn't really matter. Well, you still hurt people's feelings, okay? So think about those famous people as still humans, please. Yeah, okay. I'm getting a little worked up, as you can see. But let's just agree that a degree does not mean that you can or cannot do something. It helps you in a lot of ways in life. That's why I want my children to do that. But just because you have a degree doesn't make you more qualified to write or to sing or to whatever. I know people that have tons of different credentials and they don't do good work. Okay. So it goes the opposite way too. Just because you have letters after your name does not make you really, really good at your job. Okay. Am I off my soapbox? I also want to say that I don't like that these people that are being hateful, that are being mean, that are being bullies, are gaining followers. You're just creating your own silo of mean people, I guess. But I don't want the crappy train to be rewarded. So I kind of don't want to even put their faces on here because then people are going to go look for their videos or whatever it is. And I don't want to call people out and be mean in my own way. So let's just stop. Let's just stop and agree that we need more kindness in this world. It's a much better place to be if we can be kind to each other. If you don't like the trope, if you don't like specific things about the book, you can talk about that. Share it. If it's a 1 star because you just didn't resonate with it, that's fine. But you know what? I don't want to go into the book yet because I will get there. But there were things that I resonated with because I am Asian, because I am a woman, because I have parents that were immigrants. I have all these different feelings about it. So it touched me in different ways, even if the writing wasn't super fancy and whatever. It's also a debut novel. And if you have given some grace to people that were debut novelists before and you're holding her to a higher level, friends, let's just try to be as equal as possible and not hypocritical. Is that too hard to ask? I don't know. Maybe it is. Now let's talk about the book. But before I talk about the book, actually, can I show you a little something that I have been working on? And if you've been part of my This Japanese American Life channel, you might have seen me getting excited about crocheting. And can anybody tell me what this might be? Yeah, I got really excited and I made I'm so excited. It's gonna be on my little bookshelf, but um I'm actually not sure if it's Andarna or Taryn. Taryn, I could have made it all black, but then it would have been kind of boring. I think it's Andarna because she wants to be like Taryn. And she was all gold at first, but then she became kind of gold and then she's eared. So, did I spoil it for people? I'm sorry if I did. But so this is my little Andarna that is going to live on my bookshelf. Okay, now back to the arc of just, oh, I'm off the, Just Friends right here. Just Friends by Haley Pham. Okay. So who do we have here? You have Blair, who is the female main character, the FMC, and you have Declan, male main character. And the premise is you have this Blair, who is Asian immigrant, single mom, grew up poor, and she is trying to make her way in life. And then you have Declan, who is white, rich parents, pretty much star quarterback, has all kinds of things going for him, ready to go to the NFL. They are childhood best friends who end up having a romantic relationship but are torn apart, and we don't know what tore them apart and what's going on. Obviously, they find each other because it's a happily ever after. Romances are happily ever afters, right? So I'm not spoiling anything in that, but it is a second chance romance, and she comes back to help in this little town, which Haley says it is based off of Carmel by the Sea, which I have visited, and it is a lovely town. So I can see why she had inspiration from there. A beautiful town in coastal California. So there were different things that resonated with me. I am also Asian, as you can see, and my parents are immigrants. So there were a lot of things in there that I resonated with. Now, a few things that I am going to say is from the get-go, I felt a lot of love in other words from Christina Lauren because one, it's a dual timeline, and then you have this childhood best friends. They love books, or I guess one loves books, and there's this something tore them apart one night, and it's them finding themselves back together again. So there's a lot of very parallel things. With that said, a lot of books have this dual timeline. A lot of books have these tropes. A lot of books are very similar, right? However, I just couldn't get that out of my head. So there was that aspect of it. Now, another thing is I felt like it was very, very predictable. Like I knew what was coming and I'm not going to say it because, like I said, it doesn't come out until March and you're seeing this well in advance of that. Well, maybe you'll see it after too, but I'm releasing this very much in advance of that. So I don't want to spoil it for everyone. It just felt very, very predictable. And people have critiques of it's like a Emily Henry knockoff. And I mean, Haley has said she loves Emily Henry books, so you shouldn't be surprised. But I didn't really go, oh, that was very, very Emily Henry. I just was stuck in Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. So that was where my head was at. But otherwise, I cried, you guys. My eyes are not as poofy as they were this morning, but I stayed up late finishing it because I just kind of had to. So it gripped me. It gripped me, even though the language wasn't fancy, but it wasn't like distracting for me. It was totally fine. So yeah, I agree with people that it wasn't this really great prose and captivating language, and there were things that were repeated, and there were things in my face a lot that I was like, I get the point, even though I know she was trying to hammer home the grief and the poor and like all these things of needing to feel independent and not feel like they had to be taken care of as women and as partners. So there were these points that kept getting driven in, and I was like, okay, that's a lot. That's a lot of repeating the same thing, hammering it into my face every single time. So I understand where people are coming from. I'm going to say it was a 3-star. Like, I liked it. I bawled. I was like, "Oh my gosh, does this keep getting worse? I don't know." And I saw things coming. The other thing I wish there was more side character development. Like, I was mad at the BFFs. Like, they were not BFFs in my eyes. They came through, but I was very disappointed at the level of side characters. I wish there were better ones or more developed ones that I want to root for each one of them. And it's become a new thing where people are building these side characters and then they get their own stories, or it becomes a series, right? So maybe that is a very intentional thing that people are doing from the very beginning. But I really like that. I like getting beyond the two main characters and being able to invest in the lives of all these other people and think about their backstories. And then if I get to the point by the end of the book that I'm like, oh my gosh, I really want to know more about that other character, that is a win for me. Or if I'm like, oh man, I really love that side character, perhaps even more than the main character, that's a win for me. So I missed some of that aspect. So even though I enjoyed the book, I finished it. I finished it in 1.5, 2 days. There was more to be desired. And it's not something that I'm going to be like recommending to everyone, but there are deep things in there that I think are really important to address. And I have friends that are going through grief. And so to hear in this book, there was a deep thread of grief and how it's really hard to go through it when it feels like the world is going on around you and nobody seems to care about how you're doing or bothering to check, or like feeling like everybody else's lives are just nothing's changed when yours has been transformed in the most horrendous way, and you feel like you can't go on. And to be seen in that, to be heard in that, to be accepted and to be held in that, I completely understand it. And I also understand the Asian perspective and perhaps Asian female perspective, especially of feeling like you need to prove yourself and needing to not burden other people, or to feel like you need to put a not a perfect look, but a put togetherness out there for other people, and to feel like you have to be strong for others. That's something that I have absolutely seen in people in my life. And I know I have done it to a degree. And that's something that I'm very conscious of with my kids, of being open, of mom's not perfect. We all have emotions. Emotions are good. We need to let people in, be vulnerable. That is how we develop relationships that matter. So I think that there's very good things that are addressed throughout. And there are people, guys, that also said, oh, is there even an editor that's reading this? Can you believe the language? Can you believe the words? Can you believe she needs to use some thesaurus? You guys, of course there's an editor. Of course there are things that can be improved. Just be kind. That's what I'm coming back to. Just critique with kindness. If it's not for you, that's fine. I tell my kids, just say it's not your favorite. You can say why it's not your favorite, but keep the person out of it. Keep the personal insults out of it. And it was a really cute book that struck emotions for me. And even if it's not a 5-star that I'm going to be raving to people, I'm still going to talk about it. And friends, if you have read it, I want to know what you thought. If you've seen these videos, I want to know what you thought, because it definitely made me upset and angry and made me need to come over here. I also want to know, would you read this book? Perhaps now more? because people are talking about it? Or would you have read it anyways? Or are you like, oh, I don't really follow BookTok or BookTube or whatever? I'm just curious. Let me know your thoughts. And if there are any other books, topics that you want to discuss, let me know in the comments. And be kind, friends. Happy reading.